Hey everyone, please welcome in Pirlo and Andrew into this edition of The Grittiest Take, as we are here to talk about a interesting way to win a hockey game. Not the most convenient way, but we won 1-0. A win's a win. How are you two gentlemen doing? I'll start with you, Pirlo, since you were the guest tonight. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Yeah, it was a very interesting game. I've enjoying the hockey every day. Like it's just
All
crazy.
day, every day, yeah.
All day, every day. This could be life. This could be life right here. I'm all over it. It's good times, man. I'm great.
I agree. I agree. It's always great times watching as much hockey as possible. I still have the Blues and Canucks on in the background here as we're doing this podcast. Great game going on, 1-1 now. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing very well. Same thing. Just happy to be able to watch all these games in the playoffs, and I mean, especially with the NBA starting up tomorrow, and it's just constantly on from afternoon to end, and gives you something else to do at work too. On top of everything else, you get to watch sports, and now I'm ready for it, and finally get to talk about a nice Flyers win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to start with tonight. This was, I think, almost how Andrew, in a different way, a Tale of Three Cities game than how the last game was a Tale of Three Cities game. We came out in the first and beat them 8-5 in shots. We looked better, obviously, in the first, and then in the next two periods, Montreal looked significantly better than us in terms of possessing the puck and getting things going, and being able to do stuff in the offensive zone and the neutral zone, as we talked about before the podcast. So, what did you think about us coming out strong? I'll start with you, Andrew, in the first and answering the bell from last game, and then all of a sudden not looking good at all in the neutral zone in the second and third, and having Montreal be the far better looking offensive team, even though we got the win.
Yeah, and you have to credit AV. He clearly changed his game plan coming into this game. They got more, not only were they a lot more physical and aggressive going into the game, but they clearly attacked the net. They threw the puck at the net to start the game and had guys surrounded to try to get a quick bounce back. And you had Voracek there get the nice bounce over the shoulder there for the goal, over Price's shoulder, get the first goal of the game. I think it was 4 or 5 minutes into the game. You get that early lead and you let your goaltender and Hart just play with the lead, and obviously the confidence was there to bounce back. So I think that was the big thing. The Canadians made the adjustment to kind of adjust to the way the Flyers did, and I didn't like the Flyers adjustment in that sense. And I think that's why the Canadians took over. But luckily, you had Hart there to shut everything down.
No, I agree. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, we didn't adjust to their adjustment. That's a good way to put it. That's why we had, as Pirlo said before the podcast, as I go to you, that's why we had our immense amount of block shots. I believe it was 24 blocks, and we had to have more hits, the 36 hits, because we laid a lot of those on in the defensive zone because we were in the defensive zone so much after the first period. So, what did you think about what Andrew just said and about how we came out strong in the first and then didn't adjust to their adjustments after they adjusted in the second?
It's funny. I just thought of it as we were talking, as you guys were talking. It came to me because of what you were saying. That's why I love doing these sort of things. Is I think like before the podcast as well, Andrew was saying, and you were saying that it seems like AB was really stressing physicality, and maybe it was something to the effect of like, if we're going to lose this game, we're not going to lose because we weren't physical. Like he was stressing it so much that that what how the when you say we didn't adjust, it's because that was stressed so much that it was hard to adjust from it. It's the way they were programmed to be for this game, and they were going to be physical, and that was and so I think that's kind of maybe the reason why they were slowing down in the neutral zone and the power play and stuff like that. It's that they had it on their mind. Okay, I'm going to be physical today, which means I'm kind of forgetting the fact that you still got to play with pace. You know what I mean? We're we
They played a lot like I play with the Kings team I'm playing with an NHL 20 right now, where I'm building up with my prospects and playing beating the crap out of every team to beat them. It's not how the Flyers are supposed to play. Particularly, we actually have a very skilled team. But I
yeah
agree with you, Prill. That was a good way to put it. I think they were very, like we talked about before the podcast honed in on the physicality because TK, like you see a lot of high hits numbers in this game. TK had 5 hits. Raffle in his first game back wasn't scared to throw his body around. He had 5 hits. Hayes had 2 hits in a very good game, like you pointed out before the podcast, Pirlo. Coots had 5 hits, Pitlick and Lawton each with 2, and Lawton had a very uncharacteristic game, which is the next thing I wanted to get to. And then Thompson with 4 hits, and then the list goes on. We had guys with multiple hits tonight. Hag had 3 in his first game back in the lineup. But what did you guys think before we go on to the power play woes of Lawton? I think he's going to bounce back right away because of the mental fortitude he has now, and he's shown. But of his uncharacteristic game tonight and actually turning over the puck, you never really see any of that from Scott Lawton. And
Yeah,
Andrew go.
I said, I just think, I don't know. I don't think he's kind of been as good of his game has been. I don't think he's ready for it physically. Like I think he doesn't match up well with the aggressiveness and the extra physical that the Canadians bring. And I think that's why he's kind of lacking. And when you're asking him to play this type of game and kind of match what the Canadians are doing, and then you see what the Flyers did tonight and tried to match the Canadians' physicalness, and obviously, as you just mentioned, he struggled big time. I think that has what to go on with his game is it doesn't match up with his game. He plays better when the Flyers just stick to their normal game plan and kind of let him feed off everyone else. While here you kind of almost asking players to step up and play a different game than they're not used to, and especially in a one-game thing here, obviously make the adjustment from the last 2 games to this game. For his first time, I think he's a guy that's going to have to take a game or 2 to get used to that before kind of getting into his groove that he's used to being. And I think that has a lot to do with what we saw in this game tonight.
Yeah. So would you adjust him kind of like we talked about before the pod, before I go to Pirlo on that, back down to center if Farabee comes in, put Farabee, he's on the first line, you can put him there, but you can also move Van Riemsdyk up, who's been on the fourth line the whole time, and try to get him going more offensively. Would you look to do that a little bit until a guy like maybe Oscar can come back eventually to be a winger so you can get Lutz at center and also strengthen your center position a bit? Put Grant at the fourth line.
I mean, I look into anything to try to get him going, but to me, you get the win tonight. I don't without Farabee. I think I don't see him being on the. I see him being left off the team again, or not the team, but left off the lines next game as well. Because I don't know why you got the win, so I don't know why you'd switch back and forth when you get the win. I'd stick with the team you have tonight and maybe just switch up some of the lines. But I think you just ride it with the same thing as you did tonight, going into next game. I did see people are worried Farabee might have some type of small injury or something because it was such a random scratch from the game. And obviously with him playing a lot better than JVR is right now, it's just such an odd way to see him scratch rather than some of the other guys that were struggling. So people think something might be up with him.
No, I saw that as well, and we hope that's not the case because he's looked really good, and I think he will potentially be back in next game because our power play looked like crap. If our power play looked good, I would agree you might not change it, but I think one of which is the next thing we wanted to get to. But Pirlo, did you want to comment on Lawton first before we go to the power play?
That was a good point, Andrew. Lawton is not really is not the most physical player. I mean, he doesn't back down from people, but he certainly isn't the one that presses that pushes the physical button either. He's more of a speed guy. Yeah, I think the type of game that Philly played today does not lend well to his game. He's a speed guy, and actually, if he would have been going as fast as he could go in this game, he would have been like way ahead of everybody. Everybody like, hey, slow down. Yeah, I think it really just confused him today. They're like, we're doing this now. Like, okay, where do I fit in here? That was a good point, Andrew. If we're gonna play like that, we're gonna keep on playing like that. I also agree with Andrew to put him in. I don't know if he mentioned this. Put him in the middle. I would put him in the center, and yeah, I think Farabee should be in there. Now, if he's injured, he's injured. We don't know that, right? It would seem likely to me that's probably the case because I don't know. I didn't see a bad thing about his game, and I thought we missed that his type of energy going to the net and stuff.
I saw people tweeting he made some mistakes, which I saw myself last game, but so did everybody. in the defensive zone in our 5-0 loss. So, like I said, the key word is so did everybody for the most part. So, I'm not sure if I would have took him out for that, but I feel like segueing into the power play, one of either Ghost or Farabee will probably be back in the lineup next game because of how putrid the power play continued to look. Our penalty kill is, I believe, it's 17 of 21 now, where our power play is like 1 for 25. So, not good percentages there, obviously. So, could have been we could have won off of the back of Hart saves and not the best offense just by our power play if we scored twice by more than one goal. So I'll start with Pirlo on this. What do you think about the power play, and what would you do to fix it? And would you put Ghost or Raffle in the lineup to do so, or both?
You mean Ghost put Farabee in the lineup?
Which or Ghost or Farabee in the lineup, or both?
Yeah,
Yeah, not Raffle. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely put Farabee in the lineup if it's not because of a health issue. I'm a little bit mystified by that. I almost have to feel that it must be. He did make some mistakes, but it's possible that maybe he did this. Maybe AV did this because he wanted veterans in there to just bring some solidify. It's not the right word I'm looking for, but to solidify again. You know what I mean? Like just sort of have they've been there before, so
Bring
they're
a
not.
calmer presence.
Yeah. Not so. They've been there before, so they're going to calm things down a bit, and maybe that's what he used. Now you're talking about the power play in the room. Maybe he said, he kind of gave that kind of indication of to calm things down a bit because they sure looked calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure. They did.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much going on there.
Yeah, the only power play we had any chances was when they had a similar play from G to Voracek that they couldn't capitalize on the third power play in the first period. That's the only one we really generated any chances there. But yeah, I would put Farabee back in the lineup if he's good. Personally, I'm interested to see because I know I have been someone that's always liked Ghost, but I think Andrew's the fan club leader of the Gossens Bear over there. So I would be interested to see. Do you think because Braun played so solid game, but still not amazing, should be in to help the power play since Hag did play a good game? So why do we have to keep Braun in the lineup if our power play is not doing good? What do you think about that?
Um. Well, like
Andrew, I was going to say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Um, as big as a fan I am, I think you kind of have to leave them off right now. I mean, Braun and Hag both were on the ice for the goal today. They both had shots. They both were out there blocking shots all day. Um, Hag offers the physicality that matches with the Canadians, which I think something Gossespierre might not be able to match as well as he does as well. As he had 3 hits today. I think one issue I would have with putting Gossespierre back in is I think you have to be careful with how much you change up the lineups. I know hockey's different than other sports, and you do see different scratches each day, but the more and more you change it, I think the more and more it might cause confusion at some points for different guys. And in that, I mean, they're having to play with different players at that point, and at some point in a series, you kind of have to find some type of rhythm, in my opinion. Because to me, it's just going to start creating confusion, and the more you change it, it makes it seem like almost the Flyers are the ones like scared and they're trying to play underdog and they're in desperation mode trying to change and everything. So I think the more and more you kind of change it up, the more confidence you're giving to the Canadians that you're kind of telling them, okay, you guys are starting to really scare us and we have to try to make all these different moves. So I'd say you got to be careful. Again, you got to be careful with how much you do it. So honestly, as much as I like Gostisbehere, I don't think this is the series for him. I think Braun and Hag that played well tonight for the most part, and I think they both offer some things in this physical series that you might not get from Gostisbehere. And depending on who you get matched up with next series, I think you look to kind of add him next series because let's face it, the 2 games you won so far, you combined for 3 goals. So as much as we want that power play to get going, if you were struggling to win games in high-scoring games, it'd be different if you needed goals. But with these defensive games that the Flyers are finding ways to win by the defense, I say you leave those 2 guys there.
That's a good point. I mean, Braun had a solid game today. If he did what he did in the first two games, I would say he has to come out of the lineup at that. And I like Justin Braun too, but I mean, you can't have 3 straight games in the playoffs where you just have a dunker and then come back in the fourth game. That don't work. So the fact that he did play solid today, that's a good point. We probably should keep him in for defensive reasons, but at that point, with Pirlo's point earlier, I think we have to put Fairby in if he's healthy to add to the offense if we're not going to put Ghost in because I mean, Raffle, yes, can be on the power play, but he's not really a power play guy. He can get in front of the net. That's about it. And the same goes with Pitt. Like, he can be on the power play. We've done it before for in front of the net, but that's about it. I feel like our power play would look a little bit better, especially if we change the scheme with Farabee, because I think Farabee wouldn't be a bad guy, too, because he has a pretty nice shot, obviously, that if you can set him up for a one-timer from the left side, almost I'm not comparing him to this guy, everyone, but almost like how Kane sets up from the left side for a one-timer, or McDavid set him up from the left side over there and let him shoot the puck more on the power play. I think that would probably, he's a good playmaker, so he will read the play if there's a good play to be made across the other side of the ice as well. So that's why I think that's a good position for him. That's why I also think he should be back in the lineup. But I don't know if anybody had any Pirlo, did you have any closing points on our struggling, to say the least? I don't want to say any more penis words, power play.
Probably be less calm. And I think Farabee would be good for that. A young
We should
player,
get that shirt.
Yeah, get some pace in the neutral zone. However you have to do it. I know they can. There'll be an adjustment. I'm pretty sure that's. It's not like it's a common thing that we saw Philadelphia do. That's the thing about this series is like Philadelphia is doing a whole bunch of stuff that they never did before. You're just like, what? Where was I never you? God, I don't get. Okay, it's weird.
Right.
So I don't really have answers because I've never seen them do this stuff before. So
Yeah, there's too many weapons on this team not to be able to score with the one man advantage. Like to be 0 for 11 in your last 11 tries and then 1 for 25 since the restart. Like that's just you would have never guessed it with the weapons on this team.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's because of we have to be less calm, but we also have to be less complacent, kind of like I was saying before the podcast. We keep going in and doing the same exact thing. Like they say the saying one way is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, the other thing is if it's completely broken, you might want to fix it. So like you probably want to change your system a little bit. So like I said before the podcast to Andrew and Pirlo, you don't just have Shea Weber, Ben Sherratt, and Jeff Petrie, who are all bigger defensemen, as sometimes Kulik, just reading the play and coming right over to the side to read the play on the boards to be able to either defend off the person or wreck them if they were going to go to play the puck. So like they read the play. The defense reads the play every play because we just keep doing the same thing. I don't know why we keep running the same. I expect us to run a little bit more back and forth power play next game that's not so simplistic, to say the least. But
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Do something. Get the minds moving a little bit. Change it up a little bit. Yeah. Get the minds moving a little bit. Yeah, that could be a good way of looking at it. People that say it's not, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Quite often use stuff that was like 20 years ago. So they didn't improve it either. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, and then once it broke, it's too late to fix it.
Yeah, we're allowed to improve things. We're allowed to do that. We should anyway. So
no, I agree with that. But I was gonna say, guys, the good thing that I saw tonight too is we scored in the first on Weber and Sherratt. Obviously, we didn't have great shifts on them after that, but it was nice to see they're the two guys that have the minuses for the Canadians when they were dominating us in the first two games. We got one goal on them. Jeff Petrie still had a ridiculous game with 3 blocks and 2 shots himself. But, I mean, they did well most games, but they didn't do as well. This game, we got the 1 goal on them. So I think that was a good sign moving forward. And we also, like I said, because of playing physically, Kakaniemi dominated us in the first couple games, as well as Lycan, and both of them struggled today. And Kakaniemi took a penalty, obviously, because it seemed like he got frustrated from us playing physically. So I think it's kind of what we all said. We focused on playing physically this game and blocking shots and getting in the lanes. The problem is we focused entirely on playing physically, blocking shots and getting in the lanes. So we played like the Coyotes basically, but just with allowing significantly less shots because we have a much better defense than the Coyotes. So that's you have a defense that blocks significantly more shots than Arizona. They don't normally block 25 shots a game. So that's just what I saw this game. I mean, I think we'll make a big adjustment next game. I don't know. That's kind of what my closing points were. I think we got the nice win. A win's a win, a 1-0 win. It was on the back of a 22-year-old goalie, the youngest in Flyers history, to get the win as a shutout. So that's big for him. And I just love how Knack continues to look like Pirlo said. Obviously, if he's feeling any lingering stuff, because he was a little bit off after that one block shot, Fairby will probably by default be in the lineup next game. But what do you guys think is a closing point to the podcast? If you have any closing thoughts, I'll let you start, Andrew.
Yeah, real quick to go off that, I think bigger than him getting the shutout was him just having a good game. Like, even if we would have won this game 3-1 and Hart gives up one goal, I think that was the biggest thing, is just to give him the confidence back after struggling in game two. Obviously, a shutout's fantastic, and obviously we'd take that. But I think the biggest thing was him just coming out and having a fantastic game, whether it be a shutout or a one-goal game for him. I think that was just huge to kind of get his mindset back right. And very cool to see him bounce back that fast with a young guy, because that's something you worry about after a bad game like that, is how much it kind of get in his head for the next game in the playoffs. So I think that was really good to see. I'd
I
say
completely agree.
I'd say my final thought is just that's obviously we talked about what the adjustments need to be made, and that's the biggest thing to look forward going into the next game is whether they can adjust the power play and kind of turn it up a notch and see what happens there. I think that's something we need to do. But like you said, a win's a win, no matter how ugly or good it looks. As long as you end the day with the win, that's what matters. Now you got the 2-1 series lead, and you just need two more to move on to the next series. So let's keep going with that. I do have one question to you guys, though. With the back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, do you think Hart starts both those? Or do you think they go one Hart, one Elliott?
I think Hart starts Tuesday. If we win on Tuesday, there's a chance Elliott starts Wednesday to clinch it, kind of like Brindy put Reimer in when Mrazek won the other games, because you just want to rest your starter. That's the only chance I would see. I could still just see him going back to back, though, because if you were able to clinch in those back to back, you would have a decent amount of time off before the other teams clinch and you move on to the next series. So it will definitely be an interesting decision for AV and the staff. What do you think, Pirla?
Uh, well, okay. Well, my final conclusion. As far as Hart is concerned, I mean, he's from my area, and I've watched this kid closely for quite some time, and that was why I personally thought he was going to be a franchise goaltender right from when he was very young, was because nothing bothers the kid, just nothing. It's unbelievable. I, it's almost inhuman. His personality is insane, and I just love him. Never had to worry about him being back in today. I think it was more to do with the horrible way Philly was playing than whether he actually played poorly, anyways. And it doesn't matter. It's just like it just falls off him like it's nothing. So I don't really worry about that with him, which is amazing to have that in Philadelphia.
Finally.
Yeah,
Woo!
It's took
We
long
want to
enough.
finish with
especially a good
something.
tandem.
Let's finish with that. Woo! We have that. And so, yeah, we can have our games like this. And maybe that's another reason why, AV can kind of experiment a little bit too, because he knows he's got like one of the greatest goaltenders in the league. They had like one of the best goaltenders in the league. I think he's the best in the league. So he can experiment and do that sort of thing. As far as whether Elliott would be in there, I could see him putting Elliott in simply because AV tends to look long term, and if something ever happens to Hart, it's always good to have a backup that you showed confidence in. He did it in the regular season. Elliott played a lot of big games in the regular season, and it's possible you could keep that ball rolling in a big game like that. Um, I'm not really good with how coaches put in goaltenders or not put in goaltenders, so it's hard for me to say. I would have not played Bennington. I would have played Allen. They're playing, like when Tippett put Smith in. I don't know. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not getting
tough.
paid to be an NHL coach, so it's hard for me to say, hey, you didn't do that right. But that's all I say. I think Philadelphia is going to be okay. They've they. I think the first game they beat a team that they didn't play well in. I think they were overconfident for the second game. That and in doing so, that Montreal speed threw them off. They played shaky. They got flustered, and then and then this game here, they went back to playing physical again, which is great. Now just add that intensity into the physical aspect of the game, some speed in the neutral zone, and they really should crush Montreal. So, which
Yeah.
I fully expect that they will do.
No, I completely agree with you on all of that. But for this one, I kind of, because I usually give it before and after for when I do my short videos. I don't know if you noticed this, Andrew, who I think will be the stars and then who were the stars after. So I am kind of putting you on the spot to end this video. But who do you guys think your 3 stars of tonight's games were? These aren't mine. I'll give mine last. These are the NHL apps, who the actual 3 stars of the game were, according to them, were Carter Hart, obviously. I think that might be a consensus number one. And then
Yeah,
Ivan
it's so.
Provorov, and then Shea Weber. I don't know how Shea Weber got the 3rd star, to be quite honest with you, tonight. I wouldn't have gave it to him, so that's not, but I'll let you guys go first.
I'd say Hart. I mean, Voracek scored the goal. I say you have to give it to him. He technically had the game winner, so I'll throw him on there. And then I disagree with Weber because he was on the ice when they gave up the goal. So
Yeah, I don't
I
know how
mean
he got that.
that I don't know who my third one would be. I'd say I think you could make a case for Niskanen. I mean, he blocked 6 shots on the night, helped Hart out in that sense, had 2 hits. So he was physical in the game as well. So I'll throw him in there as a
I
defender.
I like that. I like that. You're getting shouting a guy out for the intangibles. I like that. That's what we like to see. That's what we see.
Gotta find the extra
That's why
stuff.
we
That's
call
what I
this
like.
podcast the grittiest take. We get into the nitty gritty details.
Yeah.
Now, yeah. Now, now also check out the Flyers nitty gritty that I work with and the great Jamie Baskow does stuff for. But Pirlo, who would your 3 stars be? I think, like I said, a consensus Carter Hart is probably,
Yeah.
or as some say, Carter Hart is probably.
I like it
Yeah.
better like that. Just like I like hockey. I like hockey. That's a
Hockey.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off the board here a little bit because I'm gonna pick a Montreal player that really stood out to me tonight. I liked Victor Mete tonight quite a bit. I thought he played very well. Probably the best game I've seen him play for quite a long time. So I'll give him a star. You could say Price, but we were really kind of shooting right at him. And I'm gonna say Hayes. Philadelphia. I give him. I thought he played for this type of game. He played well defensively. He played well all around. He got He got some chances. I liked his whole overall game tonight, and that would be my and for a team that was not having huge offense, he seemed to be the one player that was playing a type of game that was producing on the offensive side of the puck. So I'll say him.
Yeah. Mete's a good guy to. Sorry, Andrew. Were you going to say
Uh,
something?
I was gonna say I wonder why they put Provorov on there. Like I wonder what he did tonight to get that spot as well.
I
Like
think they just sell their stars. That's all.
Yeah, I think it was
all.
just
Yeah.
both of them played over 25 minutes. I think that was literally why, in my opinion, that both of them got that. I honestly think that's the reason why they're the second and third stars of
Yeah.
tonight's game. But Mete shouting him out I feel like you might have done that because you know how much I always liked him as a defenseman overall, even though we're playing against him in this round. So, but yeah, he's a good guy to shout out. He does play on a line with a guy that's really a seventh defenseman in Willette there. So, yeah, he has been playing pretty well, and he's got him playing even better now in his confident game. That guy actually looked pretty confident today in Willette. So, I wouldn't put him on my. He would probably be like in my top five. But since this is 3 stars, we're consensus obviously with Carter Hart. A guy that I really liked how he looked is in his first game back. I would put Raffle there because he's one of the guys that established our physical play. I mean, to just come back from an injury and then lay on 5 hits like it's nothing. I think that deserves some reward. So just like Andrew shouted out Niski for the intangibles, I'll give Raffle the intangibles. He also played over 13 minutes in his first game back, so that's a pretty good amount to have there. And for my third guy, I would probably similar to how Andrew went with Niskanen for blocks and stuff. I would actually go with in his first game back. I know he played limited minutes, but I would go with Hag because he had 3 hits and 3 blocks. Because I was going to say Niskanen, but I don't want to say the same person as Andrew, so I'll revert back to Robert Hag, who had 3 hits and 3 blocks. Looked good on defense in about his 13 minutes of play, and we put him in to establish the physical play and to get in the shooting lane, and he certainly did both of those things. So I would go with those 3 guys. But this has been the grittiest take. This has been about our 30-minute post-game show. I'll turn it over to you guys to give your Twitter handles. Pirlo, I'll start with you.
You can find all my stuff on steelflyers.com. Everything that you need to know about Pirlo is right there. My Patreon that we make lots of money on, my YouTube channel, and all of that. So I highly recommend it too. He's done a heck of a job on it. Go check it out. Steelflyers.com. Great stuff.
I agree. That's also where you can find our podcast links and all that are on his website, steelflyers.com, as well as Andrew. He did link your Twitter, which I'm assuming you were okay with. I forgot to ask you before you linked. So, hopefully you're okay with that. But what's your Twitter to share with people? Obviously, go to steelflyers.com. It's on there. Pirlo, yours is at Pirlo's NHL pal on Twitter.
Yeah, Pirlo's NHL POW. That's my Twitter handle. Yeah.
And then Andrew's.
Mine is AJ_Santangelo.
Gotcha. And then mine is at JJBork26 with the podcast being True_Philly Sport. This has been the grittiest take. It wasn't the prettiest of victories. We got the blocks, we got the physicality, and Carter Hart is a freaking legend. So we won 1-0 in this game in game 3, and it's the biggest game statistically in series. Whoever wins game 3 usually wins the series. So that's huge to gain momentum and get a better offensive game going into game 4. So for Andrew, for Pirlo, I am Joe. Have a great, safe, and pleasant day, everybody. After this Flyers win, peace out.